Alright, so I believe this is the one. Alright, so what we're going to talk about today is going to be the finance. I'm going to run an app that I created, and I do want to make this available to the students. And what I'll have to do is create instructions. This is a free software. It's called R. You would have to download it, and then you would want to download R Studio. You would open this file and hit, like I did just now, run app, and it'll run this for you. I don't know when or if I'm going to be able to put it on the website, but I want to at least try. The only issue is it gives you the answers without you really using technology. Let me show you. So the first thing here is it talks about the symbology. This is what I would like you to include in your journal. And you can actually use this exact layout, but I want you to try to type it in in Word, because I want to see how well you use technology. And if we need to, I can show you how to type that in Word neatly. Then we have the formulas and applications, so let's go ahead and select simple interest. Simple interest requires that the future amount be computed by taking the principal amount, multiplying it by 1 plus the rate per year times the number of years. So the 100% that you deposit, you get to keep. Plus, they're going to give you money on top of that each year. And so what we have is an equation here. And what's nice about this app is you can change this to anything you want, and it'll automatically update. So if we said this was for 5 years or 15 years, then it would show you how much that you have after that period of time. Now 27% is a really ridiculous rate. Most banks maybe pay 3%. So let's go ahead and delete the 2. And so you can see how much interest you would earn if you had money to put away for 15 years. And I think this is a really cool tool. Now, if you have it forever, then you can use it to do your own financing and budgeting. But it's always good to know how to do it in a calculator or in Excel, and I can show you that eventually. Are there any questions on simple interest? So the next thing is compounded interest. This is what most people pay, because when you put money in a bank, they pay you monthly interest. So that interest rate that you pay, R, is going to be divided by how many times they pay out each year. So if there was a 12% rate, let's make it 12 just to make life easier, and it was compounded monthly, then I should probably write in here the equation and say I therefore would equal, but it would be 0.1, because 12 divided by 12 is 1. So if you earn 12% a year, you're earning 1% a month. So then it takes into account how many months that's going to be done. Every time you do it, you multiply. So if I have it for 5 years at 12 times, that's 60 times it's compounded. That's where we get the NT from. Now, I tend to be lazy. I don't like writing a lot of notation, and so I also don't like when the calculator or the computer writes it and it looks like a fraction. The parentheses should be larger. So what I do is I give you an alternative and say, if I say I, that's the periodic interest rate, I package this into one symbol. Instead of having 2 symbols, I now only have 1. But then you have to remember the formula, so it's a trade-off. So, but if you put those numbers in the formula, then what you have is the interest. And that's another thing I probably should add. This value here minus the 1,500 would be the interest that you earned over those 30 periods of compounded. Now, if we go more realistic and the bank is more like 2%, you see over a 5-year period, we really don't earn a lot of money. That's why a lot of people want to invest in bonds and stocks. They pay a higher interest rate, but they're also a greater risk. All right, so amortization, when you pay off a large amount of money, if you're new to the credit card game, they may charge you 27%. And if you say, I'm going to pay this off, even let's say 2 years, I bought this really nice computer and I'll pay it off by the time it gets outdated, look at how much interest you end up paying. So the formula here, do you see it gets quite complicated? The book simplifies it a different way. It finds a common denominator here and then takes the negative and flip it. And if you need me to, I'll show you the alternative formula. But as long as you're able to manipulate one of these formulas in a calculator or Excel, then you should be fine. But at least be able to interpret it if I make this app available. So if you make a monthly payment, because that's what we said right here, 12 times a year we'll make a payment. We're doing that for 2 years, so a total of 24 payments. That's where we get this number from. We're being charged 27% interest because we put it on a credit card, and this computer apparently cost $1,500. This is the same equation you'll use for buying a house. So what we're saying here is, yeah, your payment will be $81.57, but you're making 24 of them, and so you're really paying almost $457 in interest because of your high interest rates. Realize if you don't have a credit card, when you do get a credit card, that minimum amount is usually 2% of your overall balance. If you make a minimum payment, it will take you 8 years to get out of debt, and that's if you never use the credit card again. You should always pay all, if not half, if not a third, but probably never less than a tenth of what you owe, because otherwise it takes you more than a year to get out of debt. So let's do a house. Let's say you buy a house for $163,000. They normally require 10% down, so we'll go ahead and say we only took out the loan for $55,000. There's no way I'm going to pay $8,000 a month. What's wrong here is that I'm saying I'm going to pay off a house in 2 years. It's probably more like 30 years, and I probably would get an interest rate of 8%. Okay, so that's about what somebody would pay, $1,000, a little over $1,100 a month. But look how much is in interest. You're paying more in interest for that house than you bought the house for. A lot of people don't realize that that's just how life is, because you're making so many payments. Some people are smart and say, what if we take a 15-year mortgage? Well, notice your mortgage payment each month increased, but look how much your interest overall decreased. So when you do the project, I really just want you guys to understand the ramifications of compounding interest. The last type of basic financing I think you should be familiar with is sinking funds. A sinking fund is when you have a future amount that you would like to save up for, and you put money into an interest-earning account until that time. So let's say we wanted to save up $2,000 for Christmas. Our bank pays us 3% interest annually, and we are going to make payments for the next year. Then we would have to invest $164.32 each month. What we pay into the bank would only be $1,972.62, and the rest of that would be earned in interest.